Stugotzs here for 1-800-Flowers. With all the exciting hype surrounding Valentine's, you probably have some decent gift ideas swirling around, but you're waiting for the perfect one. Well, 1-800-Flowers.com is your answer, because right now, when you order early, you can get 12 multicolored roses for only $19.99, or double it to 24 multicolored roses for just $10 more. This is an unbelievable offer from 1-800-Flowers. This gorgeous bouquet of multicolored roses is a perfect surprise she's guaranteed to love. And remember, 1-800-Flowers is here for all your upcoming Valentine's needs. A dozen multicolored roses for just $19.99, or an upgrade to 24 multicolored roses for just $10 more is an amazing offer. When it comes to life's meaningful moments, choose 1-800-Flowers.com to order a dozen multicolored roses for just $19.99, or upgrade to 24 multicolored roses for only $10 more. It's simple. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter code Dan. Again, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, enter code Dan. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code Dan.
Unlibitard.
I mean, Stugotzs is the physical manifestation of the comment section come to life. Do you agree with that assessment that you are a comment section come to life?
100%.
It's, I wouldn't take such pride in that.
I do.
Stugotzs.
But I want you to imagine Stugotzs rising up from the gutter. Like, what you're looking at right now is a gutter. Only a gutter. And now it starts as a face, and the mouth gets bigger, and it just keeps growing, and then just shouts, rings.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotzs on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz's weekend observations are right here. They are highly anticipated every Monday. They are ready to go. Before we get to them, however, Stugotz saw Desus and Mero last night on, was it Fallon? They were on Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah, it wasn't last night. It was, I think it was Friday night, maybe. Yeah, I saw Desus and Mero on Jimmy Fallon. Second time that they've been on the show. They were really, really good and funny. There was a funny moment where one of them called Jimmy Fallon Jimmy Kimmel. It was embarrassing, and so it was good, but I also found myself enjoying it and being enraged and, just a ton of jealousy just swelling up inside of me.
You want to make the late night circuit the way Mike and Mike did on David Letterman? That's something you want to do?
I would love to do that. First off, I think you and I, you've been asking us lately what we want to do, and let's enjoy some of this. I think you and I are certainly deserving to be on the late night circuit. I think if ESPN pushed for it, we'd be on the late night circuit. If you don't want to go, I'm happy to go and represent both of us, which is dangerous. But, yes, it's something I like to do.
Let me know, because PR has been trying to get you guys to do stuff like that all the time. And if I say go ahead and make pitches for Dan and Stugotzs to do the late night circuit.
Oh, God, no.
Yes,
Oh, that'd be great.
I'd like to be finding out who'd bite on that,
That's deeply uncomfortable. Deeply uncomfortable.
What do you mean? But I'm never uncomfortable. I'm always comfortable.
No, but to be funnier than the professional funny people, or to go on there and do all of that,
I can no doubt get you on Desus and Mero.
Thank you. Before we get to Stugotz's weekend observations, hey, Mike, and I'm asking this question a little late in the proceedings, admittedly. Is pissant something that we can say on air?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen an email saying don't say that.
Okay, well, but what is that exactly? I know what the word means to dismiss someone as a pissant, but what is that actually? Because when Stugotzs is saying that's a benign thing to say about one of Tom Brady's kids, I'm not sure Tom Brady would think that anything benign publicly said by a journalist would be benign, anything. But pissant, is Stugotzs right that it's a benign compliment or a benign insult?
Well, if you're using it as a noun, it's an insignificant or contemptible person or thing. If you're using it as an adjective, then you mean it's a worthless, contemptible thing.
Okay.
Off the top of the dome.
That's not really benign, calling Tom Brady's child worthless. But
and yeah, you can say that. The first syllable alone you can't say.
Listen,
but that's a different word.
I'm saying Tom Brady has every right to be upset and should be upset, and the guy should be suspended. I'm questioning whether or not he should be fired, because I feel like he's about to get fired.
He might be. Because Tom Brady wants it to be so.
He's a young guy. This is a bad mistake to make, and you're going to learn a lot in the business in this. But
well, I think Lupica made the mistake one time on Letterman, made fun of kids, and the crowd turned on him. You can't be going after kids.
You absolutely can't. But if he made Letterman.
Did make. Lupica was on Letterman several times.
I had a point there, but wow, I can't get past that.
Right.
Lupica was on Letterman?
Time now for Stugotz's weekend observations.
It is time for Stugotzs to share his game
Several
notes.
times, I think.
Get out
No
of
one
here.
in the media will tell you what happened better
Look it
than
up.
my boy Stu.
Dan, last week, I told you LeBron was going to the Pelicans. This week, I'm telling you, he's not. 6 days away. 6 days away from the Super Bowl. Career playoff quarterback rating of 166.4. 6 days away from seeing if the greatest quarterback in postseason history can get it done one more time. Good luck, Nick Foles. Poor Pelicans. I'm tied for first in my fantasy basketball league. The guy I'm tied with has DeMarcus Cousins. When it was announced he was out for the year, I texted him saying, man, I'm so sorry about Boogie. Really sucks. I was being totally insincere. If I'm being totally honest about the Boogie text I sent to my friend, I was on speakerphone with my fantasy partner cackling over the fact that he lost Boogie for the remainder of the year.
That's right.
Tom Izzo said he wants the Michigan State basketball team to be part of the solution. Sorry, Tom. Too late. Tom Izzo said he wants the Michigan State basketball program to be part of the solution. Tom, here's when you become part of the solution. The second a sexual assault allegation comes across your desk. My first thought when I heard about the Tom Izzo news, poor Dickie V. Mark D'Antonio, stop demonstrating the behavior of someone who tells lies often. Wow. It must be difficult, Dickie V. It really must be, to find out people you think so highly of are not exactly what you thought they were. Isaiah Thomas said it's not fair. He's taking so much blame for the Cavs' recent poor play. Isaiah, in 9 games with you in the lineup, your team is 4-5 and giving up 121 points per game. It's fair. Isaiah Thomas said, it's not fair. He's taking so much blame for the Cavs' recent poor play. But you are perfectly fine blaming Kevin Love. Last week, Isaiah Thomas said no one trusts each other. Now that everyone is blaming him, he says everybody in our circle believes in each other. Convenient. Bart Scott said they used to joke around and say things to Aaron Hernandez. Like, hey man, I heard they found the body. Did Bart Scott imply that within NFL circles, it was known what Aaron Hernandez was capable of? Josh McDaniels must think pretty highly of Jacoby Brissett. Oklahoma City Thunder, peaking at the right time. Oklahoma City Thunder, do it in the playoffs.
Yes, of course.
Well, of course. What do you mean?
Right. No,
I haven't done anything. They're peaking right now, but you know what? Continue peaking in the playoffs.
That's right, but peaking right now was the right time, you just said.
It is. A better time would be the playoffs. But listen, if you want to peak right now because you have some, you have some ground to make up in the West.
This seems like the wrong time to peak.
No, it's the right time to peak for seeding purposes, but once you get to the playoffs, then I want you to peak again and get it done in the playoffs.
Very good.
And I think they will. If there's a better drink than a fountain Coca-Cola, I'd like to know about it. I love the sound of sending an email from my iPhone when the volume is on. For now, it looks like blaming everything on Kevin Love has worked. Kevin Durant, just so you know, if Russell Westbrook wins a championship this year and knocks off your team on the way to doing so, it will count as 2 rings.
What?
In my personal record book.
2 rings.
2 rings for Russ.
Wow.
If he wins the championship and gets through the Warriors while doing
2
so.
2 rings in the personal record book of Stugotzs.
Now stay tuned, Dan. If he just beats the Warriors and doesn't win the championship, it will count as 1. Regardless of what
nice.
you do.
Okay.
KD,
Wow.
you'll still have none.
No rings.
Yes.
That's right. No rings for KD.
So all Russell has to do this year, just so we're clear on my record book.
He'll have more win. Wow.
If he beats the Warriors.
He's got more rings
but
than
doesn't
KD.
win a title.
He's got more rings than KD.
You got it,
That's
man.
amazing.
You're on to the book here, man.
That's amazing.
I'm going to do this book. Headline, Broncos to reportedly shop Aqib Talib in trade talks. John Elway, some advice. Sleep with one eye open. Aqib Talib, back to the Patriots for a 4th-round pick who will be out of the NFL in 3 years. Collision course. Jay-Z said Kaepernick put his name next to Ali with protest. Jay-Z, more like Jay Crazy. James Harrison wants to play into his 40s. James Harrison, you can do whatever the hell you want.
That's right.
Made the cut. Shot under par. More importantly, looked and stayed healthy. Welcome back, Tiger Woods. Just giving you a heads up. If you actually start winning, I may have to start, kinda, sorta, asking questions that force Dan to make a bet on a little game show I like to call Gun to Your Head. With the exception of me, has there ever been anyone who is better at what they do than Roger Federer? If you had to make a bet, gun to your head. James Corden, the next time you make me laugh while not in a car singing with a celebrity will be the first time you make me laugh while not in a car singing with a celebrity. What happened there? The dude's not funny.
Okay.
And he keeps getting the Grammys gig. And I'm sorry, Grammys, do better. Give me something better than James Corden. Because if he's not in a car with Justin Bieber, dude's not funny. I don't know when. I don't know how. But what I do know is that one day, that dunk on Russell Westbrook will come back to haunt Joel Embiid.
Yeah, it will.
Kevin Durant apologized to a 75-year-old veteran who has won 3 Purple Hearts. KD, since heart is something you know very little about,
for the love of God.
That's an award given to brave people for not taking the easy path. What happened there?
That's not what a Medal of Honor is.
It's a Purple Heart. That's a fine.
That's not what.
It's a Purple Heart.
That's not what a Purple Heart is either.
It's for courageous acts.
Isn't the Purple Heart also a Medal of Honor?
I have no idea. But it's a Purple Heart. And when you get a Purple Heart, it means you have done something courageous and something that Kevin Durant would know nothing about. Those are the things he knows least about. Heart and doing courageous things. Anyway, where was I? Philadelphia 76ers. Not the guy you want to get angry. Pink. Some set of pipes. Saw a bunch of pictures over the weekend of Sean McVay and his beautiful girlfriend. Let me tell you, she's one lucky woman. Carolyn Wozniacki. Just so we're on the same page, any major one that Serena doesn't play in does not count as a major championship in my personal record book.
Mike, what happened?
You still have 0.
Hold on. Why is Roy laughing, and why are you mad at Stugotzs?
There was something there. I know what happened. Yeah. Mike, go ahead. You can explain.
What happened?
You wrote such a funny on-brand joke where you said women instead of woman.
I know.
And it was women on your paper, and you still said woman. What's wrong with you when it comes to this?
She's one lucky woman. You're right. That's on me. Anyway, did you hear about Wozniacki?
No.
Personal record book?
No.
Any major she's won that Serena Williams was not participating in does not count as a major in my personal record book.
Fair enough.
She still has 0.
Okay.
Seems like Brady and Federer have found the fountain of youth, and no one seems to care or have any questions. Mark Emmert, you knew of the Michigan State allegations, 36 of them to be exact, all the way back in 2010. You did nothing. And then 1 year later, you led the protecting the integrity of intercollegiate athletics charge because Nevin Shapiro bought a few players, lap dances, and Benihana. You, sir, have some explaining to do.
Yes, you do.
Mark Emmert, you've been reassigned and are no longer the chairman of the NCAA.
Uh-oh.
Enjoy your new role as chairman of the HELL. And when you get there, make sure you say hello to Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Here comes the morning.
H-E-double-L.
The H-E-double-L.
Hi, this is Papi. Do you know that my TV show Highly Questionable is not only on ESPN2 every day at 4:30 Eastern? It is also available as a podcast. You can listen or subscribe to the Highly Questionable podcast on ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Dan Le Batard.
The bifocal eyeglasses.
Stugotzs.
Marcus Mariota. Growing up right in front of our eyes.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotzs on ESPN Radio.
We've got some interesting sound to play for you from a podcast Off the Bench from CBS involving Danny Cannell and Raja Bell. Raja Bell was an executive with the Cavs organization. Raja Bell is unusually honest. He's always a delight to talk to. So he's on this podcast, Off the Bench, CBS, with Danny Cannell. And here's what he says about the idea of how hard it was to get LeBron to play hard for David Blatt.
We were at Pauley Pavilion at UCLA, and I walked around Rodeo for a while that morning with David Griffin. And he's like, look, I think I might have to fire David Blatt. And I'm like, don't do it. Let's not do it. Give me a chance to go talk to LeBron. So I pull LeBron aside after shoot around that morning, and everybody goes to get on the bus, and we spend about 15 minutes talking. And I'm talking to LeBron about his legacy and, what ultimately that is. It's not about what he did in Miami, but it's going to be whether he can get this championship back to Cleveland. And, David Blatt is our guy right now. But in fairness to David Blatt, you as a team haven't played hard for David Blatt. And he had just come back from that little hiatus in Miami. And I said, we as a staff can't really judge David on his merits because we haven't seen you guys play hard for him. So if you could get everybody to play hard for him and give him the opportunity to show us what he can do, then we can make a judgment and help you get the guy if he's not the guy that you'll need to do that. Right? And so LeBron was like, he looked at me and he said, I can do that. And they came out and they did that. They rolled the Clippers that night and things took off a little bit. But so the question about whether Ty Lue is on the hot seat, the answer is yes, because these guys aren't playing for him right now. And so the conversation I had with LeBron, it was as simple as that. If you play hard for him, we can determine whether he's a good coach and then we'll make a move if it's warranted. That's a conversation that has to be had to some degree with those guys now. Play hard for the guy and let us see what we got. Then we can decide whether, A, he's the problem, the roster's the problem, or what have you. But if you're not playing hard for him, we can't make a determination.
Man, that's good. That's good insight there by Raja Bell.
It's an amazing thing to say about LeBron James that you can watch him play and not have a good idea, no matter what his stat line is he playing his hardest? Because he can put up a triple-double not trying his hardest. And here is Raja Bell on Off the Bench with Danny Cannell and CBS talking about how isolated Kevin Love is.
When I was in Cleveland, Kevin Love was as much of an outcast as you could be on a team. It's the dynamic of being in a locker room that's just culturally a lot different than you. Mm-hmm. And I say that and I think everybody understands black and white kind of deal. I lived that. I was in a locker room with Matt Harpring in Philadelphia. Matt Harpring was miserable. And he just was culturally, this was when AI was rocking big gold chains and super baggy Reebok, sweatsuits, and everybody had a do-rag on and Averex jackets, and we were a hip hop squad. And there sat Matt Harpring with his, and Matt was my guy and still is to this day.
Right.
And I would feel awful. I would look across the locker room and be like, Jesus, he's just so out of place. He can't figure out, even if he wanted to be involved, which I'm sure he did, he couldn't figure out culturally what they had in common. Wow. And it just didn't work. And there was an element of that when I was in Cleveland. Now they figured it out. They put it to bed. LeBron went to LA, had these conversations with Kevin Love. But dude, it was so bad that first year that I was on a phone call with Dan Gilbert, and our whole brass, and we had a big deal on the table to move Kevin Love in the first year, and I was move him. Not because I didn't think he was a good player, but because I just couldn't see them figuring out how to work as people together.
All right, everybody, just slow down for a second.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure Raja Bell just reported on the CBS Off the Bench podcast that Kevin Love is too white for the Cavaliers. That's something that just happened.
And that Matt Harpring was too white for the 76ers.
And also, as an added bonus, and this makes me want to play the game, who's the guy who has been the most of an outcast in any locker room if this is how we're doing the math? Because Iverson's Man, the NBA airbrushed his tattoos because they didn't like how Iverson was representing on the NBA-sponsored magazine.
I mean, 06 Miami Heat, you had Shaq, Gary Payton, Antoine Walker, and Michael Doliak.
That is a cultural thing that I had not considered. The idea that, Roger Bell just reported that the Cavs are too black for Kevin Love.
Don Le Batard.
What's the stat, by the way? It sounds like a dumb one.
Box plus minus.
Yep. How about rings plus minus?
I mean, okay.
6 for MJ, 3 for LeBron.
Stugotzs.
Put LeBron's rings in a box and then put MJ's rings in a box and tell me who has more. How's that sound? It's plus 3, by the way.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotzs on ESPN Radio.
What are you smiling about, Mike?
Because someone tweeted at me, can you talk to Steve Kerr about what life was like when he was on the Jailblazers? But I'm looking at the roster right now. He had Chris Dudley.
Oh, nice.
I'm looking at that Matt Harpring roster, the Sixers, and he had Matt Geiger.
Oof. No, Matt Geiger's a lunatic. Matt Geiger was crazy. He doesn't classify race, gender, anything. He classifies crazy. Matt Harpring has less in common with Matt Geiger than he did with anyone else in that locker room.
Didn't Matt Geiger have this crazy pad?
Yes, he had like a 40-bedroom house. Go look it up. Google it.
You want to hear this? You want to hear this? I'd like to have Matt Harpring on to ask him about this. Do you want to hear this roster for the 2001-2002 Sixers?
Yes.
Okay. Besides Raja Bell, of course.
Well, hold on a second. It's Aaron McKee. It's Eric Snow, right?
Yeah, it's also Derek Coleman. It's also Corey Blunt. It's also Samuel Dellenbear. It's also Allen Iverson. It's also Tim James. It's also Dikembe Mutombo. It's also Jabari Smith. It goes on. And Matt Geiger.
Right, and Matt Geiger.
Montego Cummings.
I love the idea. Montego? They had a Montego?
A Montego.
Oh, a Montego. That totally changes it.
Yeah.
They had a Dikembe, a Montego, and what was and a Jabari?
They did, yes. And a Matt.
All right, and Matt Harpring.
Geiger.
Guys, look, the Cavs have been overcovered, okay? I have never considered the Kevin Love situation the way that Raja Bell just made me consider it.
Or the David Blatt one, for that matter.
Well, but yeah, I've seen LeBron not try some before. He doesn't have to maximum try all the time. Guillermo, put it on the poll. Did you learn something about the Cavs that you did not know from the Danny Cannell podcast? Because I did. Speaking of podcasts, Chris Sims has one on Bleacher Report. How was that storm for you in New York this weekend as the tabloids ran crazy with your pick of Eli Manning as the 38th best quarterback in the NFL?
You know, as usual, I just phased it out and kept trucking along with life. I just don't give a damn. I just, I don't know. I didn't realize, did it make news up there? I wasn't even really aware of it a whole lot.
It did. The thing you said that made more news than even that was that you ranked Eli Manning ahead of your dad in terms of all-time greatest Giant quarterbacks.
Really, every time you come on this show, you create a problem that rattles cages and creates more difficulty in your life.
It does. But, hey, it's
the
part
37th
of the job.
best quarterback, according to Chris Sims, is
Geno Smith, New York Giants.
Oh, my God.
Ahead of Eli.
Ahead of Eli.
You are a genius.
Shocking. Oh.
Just made news again, man.
I thought Geno wasn't going to be in the top 71.
No, Geno deserves to be in the top 71. Geno did a good job in his start this year when he played against the Oakland Raiders. I would say that was one of the better offensive performances by the team all year long for the New York Giants.
They scored 14 points in that game.
Yeah, they scored 17, but that was off of 2 weeks prior to that with Eli Manning as the starting quarterback, where they didn't score any touchdowns offensively at all.
And then I think Geno got hurt, didn't he, later in that game or something like that?
Well, yeah, the biggest play was he got sacked by Khalil Mack at the end of the first half and fumbled when they were going in to score, and really had a chance to kind of control the football game, if you remember correctly. But, hey, Geno's one of those guys I look at, first of all, he's got more talent than people give him credit for. He got a bad rap with the New York Jets. Jets. I mean, he left the New York Jets, and all of a sudden they signed Brandon Marshall, and they signed Eric Decker. Or not when he left, but when he was the backup quarterback. He got to be the quarterback of the Jets with absolutely zero talent around him, the coaching disaster there, and he's got some ability there, and he showed it in the preseason. He showed it in his regular season start, and for whatever reason, people just want to bag on him all the time, and I don't really understand that. He made a mistake by confronting that linebacker in the locker room for $600. That was the dumbest thing he ever did.
But you're right. I've been saying this for years, and thank you for agreeing with me finally, because I can't find anyone. Geno Smith, he was supposed. People don't realize this. He was supposed to be the starting quarterback had he not made that mistake. Todd Bowles had selected him to be the starter had he not made that mistake in the locker room.
Yes, that's exactly right. It was an immature mistake, sure, certainly at that. But, again, I just think he gets a bad rap, and people talk about, when he was a starter, they weren't that good. Well, I don't care. You could have put most quarterbacks on the team with that New York Jets team back then. They wouldn't have been worth a damn then either. So, right now, in the year of 2017 season, I think Geno Smith is one notch better than Eli Manning. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean you can't win a Super Bowl with Eli Manning. But I do think just when you evaluate the play, the skill set, where they are in their career, I think he has a hair more to offer than an Eli Manning.
Forget about the tabloids. How'd your dad absorb that news about Eli Manning?
He's heard me say it. Again, Eli won 2 Super Bowls. My dad, won 2, but only played for 1. You said Jeff Hostetler was the greatest quarterback in Giants history.
Yeah.
But no, I recognize what Eli's done some great things. I do think my dad had more physical ability than Eli Manning. I do. I just think as far as accomplishments goes, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, Eli will always be recognized as the greatest quarterback in Giants history.
Chris, we will talk to you again tomorrow. Thank you. Real quick before we let you go, though, based on film study that you've done, and I don't know how closely you study individual defensive play, who was more dominant last year, Aaron Donald or Khalil Mack?
Oh, Aaron Donald last year. Yes, Aaron Donald was just absolutely through the roof. In fact, I would say, to me, it would be Aaron Donald or a Fletcher Cox would be in the conversation for the 2 best defensive players in the game this year, for my money.
Nice.
Thank you. We will talk to you tomorrow, Chris.
Be good, guys. Have a good one.
All right. List is getting juicy. It really is.
It is. So we've really taken a turn here. Geno Smith, I did not think he was going to be in the top 71.
You were right.
Everybody knows I'm an ad man.
This list is no longer about Blake Bortles. It is now. He has pivoted, and it's a genius move on his part. It's all about Eli now.
All quarterbacks in the league.
You said that Friday.
The bidding with Geno Smith.
Don Le Batard.
Yo, chicken time.
Stugotzs.
It's Modern Cop.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotzs on ESPN Radio.
We'll get to the polls in a second. Mike, a lot of people have been writing in. That sound we played earlier of Stugotzs yelling at MC Hammer, it's very old sound. Stugotzs, when he rushes to my defense, does so overzealously, does so very passionately, does so in a way that I very much respect, admire, and appreciate, but also can get heavy-handed. And it ends up sounding something like this, where MC Hammer, who doesn't lack for confidence, is left disoriented.
Hammer, your most famous time was 20 years ago. So naturally, when people have you on the radio, they're going to want to talk about 20 years ago. You get that, right?
You
get that, right? I'm just wondering if you get that, because you're being rude on our radio show, and I'm just wondering if you get that. You were infinitely more famous 2 decades ago than you are today, and that's what people want to hear about.
You are a genius.
Yes, I am. And you're not.
Oh, no. Okay. So, a lot of people, wins, Mike, a lot of people hadn't heard that. So I think what we should do is just a flashback every day for a while on just people are really enjoying that they didn't know this side of Stugotzs. They didn't know anything about it. So let's just have daily for a while, a flashback to some time. And why not doing during Super Bowl week? What the hell else is going on this week? Just let's flash back to dumb bleep our show has done.
Like this day in history type stuff? Because that's really difficult.
Well, no, we could just make it this day in history, and who's going to know?
Right? Yeah,
this day in the history of the Dan Levitard show, this is the 10th anniversary of this happening. Nice. Nobody's going to know anything. We don't do just fake it.
So proud of you, man. Never been prouder.
So let's go ahead and update the polls at Levitard Show. The point is the content, not the date of the content.
I know, but like this day, Dan Levitard Show history has a nice little ring to it. Right. But to your point, who knows?
Yeah, could have been. Yeah. Maybe it was that day. Maybe it was close to that day. We got a lot of polls today, I think.
We do. At Levitard Show on Twitter, are Dan's thoughts before the game more valuable than most people's thoughts before the game? I think they are, because Dan rarely gives his thoughts before the game. After the game, he's great. Before the game, he rarely does it. 57% of the audience, though, said no.
Yeah. My thoughts before the game are not better than anybody else's thoughts before the game.
I beg to differ.
They're just more expensive.
Is J-Lo going to get A-Rod into the Hall of Fame? 80% of the audience said yes. She absolutely is.
Yeah, she's going to get him in.
Unbelievable. Is a 42-year-old man sending his love flowers and signing the card with his baseball number cheesy or with it? Oh, let me hit focus.
Mike Ryan was with it. Right? Mike Ryan was with putting the number 13 on your baseball card, on your flower, on your note.
It wasn't just 13. It was Macho 13.
It was Macho 13. Macho
13.
It honestly made me think that Manny Machado had sent Jennifer Lopez flowers. I'm not even kidding.
83% of the audience said it was cheesy. Did you know that all of the musical content at sporting events is controlled by the league?
I'm sorry, we were talking about this because Kendrick Lamar performed at the Grammys yesterday. He was politically charged. He didn't do that in front of Trump, and that's where we got into that conversation.
68% of the audience said no. This is going to be crushing to Allison. Is Molly's Game a good movie? 75% of the audience said no.
Ooh. How's she doing back there? She loved Molly's Game.
No one agrees with her.
Yeah, it's not very good.
She just called everybody idiots.
Okay.
What's better writing? Dan's lifetime of journalism or Nick Pizzolatto's first season of True Detective? I think it's you, man.
Thank you for that, Stugotzs. I don't believe that's the way that poll is going to come
27% of the audience agrees with me.
All right, I'll take it.
That's one way to frame it.
I'll take it.
Oh, man. This is lopsided. Mike, what's the most lopsided poll we've ever had? Like, do you know by percentage?
96.
Okay. Well, this is approaching. Is Magic Johnson a fundamentally useless Twitter follow? 94% of the audience said yes.
Almost a record.
High. That's very high. I think 97 might be the highest percentage, and I just think the question was, is Stugotzs gross? I'm pretty sure that was...
I think you're right. I'm surprised I got 3%.
I'm pretty sure. Either that or is John Travolta gross?
No, I think it was me.
Is John Travolta grosser than Stugotzs?
I think it was 94 said Travolta was and 97 said I was.
All right.
It was weird. That I didn't get 100% gross. Is Giselle running the Patriots from her bedroom? 88% of the audience said yes.
It's such a good question, honestly. Is there any other question worth answering during this Super Bowl than... Is there any question you'd like an answer to more than is Giselle running the Patriots from her bedroom? Did she just trade Garoppolo? Did she tell her husband to get on the radio and get that host fired?
Would you like to make that the question this year for our guests rather than the one thing the Eagles have to do to beat the Patriots?
Too. How about that? How about we do your question, the one thing the Eagles have to do to beat the Patriots?
What's the single most important thing the Eagles have to do to beat the Patriots?
And I'll ask, is Giselle running the Patriots from the bedroom? Those will be the two questions we ask every guest.
Okay, good. If you had to win a bet on a game show called Gun to Your Head, is Tom Brady's suspicious aging the responsibility of perhaps some pharmaceuticals?
Kind of, sort of.
58% of the audience said yes. 34% said kind of, sort of. 8% no. Should CBS be ashamed of itself? 91% of the audience said yes. Did Giselle trade Garoppolo? 88% of the audience said yes.
Yeah.
Is Stugotzs bleeping with Dan about a Cagney and Lacey reboot?
You got to be kidding me. Man. You got to be kidding me that CBS is bringing back Cagney and Lacey.
They are. 64% of the audience said yes, but it's a fact. I'm stating a fact. Do you want to be lectured by...
It can't be.
It is.
It can't be a fact.
It's a fact. That and Magnum PI. Do you want to be lectured by Pat Shurmur on what it is to be a New York football giant?
Where is Shurmur, Allison? I want to get him on in the last minute of the show to tell us what a Giant is, what it is to be a New York Giant.
She just said, I mean.
Yeah, of course, that's what she said.
82% of the audience does not want to be lectured. Mike did, oddly.
Mike weirdly wanted to find out
here for this.
What Pat Shurmur thought about being a Giant.
Did you learn something you didn't know about the Cavs from the Danny Kanell podcast? 71% of the audience, you're a bunch of know-it-alls. They said no.
All right, this is what I'm telling you. This needs to be news of the day, Super Bowl week. Raja Bell said on Danny Kanell's podcast that the Cavs are too black for Kevin Love. I will not stop until I get that conversation off the ground and on to First Take. I will not stop. I will thunder through Super Bowl week. I want to get that question on First Take. Are the Cavs too black for Kevin Love? Max, your thoughts.
Because this is a miserable week for you. There was a little beacon of light with that Raja Bell sound.
Yes, thank you, Raja. Thank you.